by Riverside. Powered 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 by Riverside.
All right, welcome everybody to the Scene Subplots and Side Quests podcast. We are back again after a couple-week hiatus. It is me, Joshua Awesome. You can call me Josh, with my humble co-host,
Chris CKJ. How's it going, everybody?
How's it going? So we're shaking it up a little bit. We used to do our monthly recaps at the beginning of the month, but we've had some scheduling issues. We are going to push that back to the end of the month now. And next week's episode is going to be a comic book focused episode and manga focused episode where we're just going to talk about our monthly reads. But we have some news and video game and TV show, movie discussions we want to have today. On today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steam hardware that just got announced by Valve. We're going to talk a little bit about Overwatch 2 and Marvel Rivals. Those are one of my favorite games is Overwatch. One of Chris's favorite games is Marvel Rivals. And we're going to talk a little bit about Pokemon ZA, Fallout, the return of some story-focused gaming. And then we're going to hop over to the anime TV show and movie side of things. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the new trailers that have come out. Chris is going to try and convince me as to whether I should see Chainsaw Man as a new Chainsaw Man or don't know anything about the property or IP, essentially. We're going to talk a little bit about that Mighty Nein episode, if you're a critter or a fan of Critical Role, which will tie into some of the video game stuff with this return to story-focused games, as we're going to talk a little bit about Dispatch as well. And we're going to talk about, the hand-in-hand tie-in of manga and anime, and we're going to talk about a little bit of comparison between My Hero Academia and One Punch Man. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to go a little out of order than what we have here, Chris, but I wanted to start out with Pokemon ZA. I want you to, because you've played it, you got it. I am still on my like Nintendo boycott, essentially. I'll play games I already own, but I'm not trying to give Nintendo any more new money of mine. But tell me, is Pokemon ZA, is it worth buying? Is it a good step forward in the Pokemon series? Tell me a little bit about it. What are your thoughts, Chris? And should people is the game worth buying, or should they stick to Pokemon Arceus, or should they stick to Scarlet and Violet?
So to start off with your, first question, is it worth it? If you're somebody who's like playing the competitive side of Pokemon, then yeah, I would get it. Just because the new Mega Evolutions and the new moves will definitely help you an advantage, when Pokemon Champions gets released in 2026. But if you're a casual Pokemon person like myself, maybe like Josh, you might not need to play it unless you want to, see or play some of the new Mega Evolutions. $70 is a steep game for this type of game that kind of plays like Scarlet and Violet when it comes to like the animations, the actual kind of gameplay. But the story is definitely really good for a Pokemon game. And everyone knows Pokemon doesn't have the greatest, stories, but this one does expand on the original X and Y story. You get returning characters like Z and then Lysander, who was the big bad in that one. And it really integrates and expands more on the evil team and the characters that are new, which are really nice, fresh breath air for Pokemon because they usually stick to the same formula, right? Bad guys trying to do bad things. You beat them, wash, rinse, repeat. And it's a lot different in this game, which I do appreciate it, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm interested to see this new, and this is me like, I don't want to buy it, but I'm also interested in the DLC. And have you seen the DLC trailer and all that, Josh? The most recent one?
Yeah, the most recent
So,
one. I don't know if I've seen the most recent one.
okay. Do you want me to talk about it or you want me to hold off on it? Because there's
No,
something big
can,
I want to talk about it.
Yeah, you can talk about it.
So in this DLC, you get into this hyperspace of Lumio City, and the Pokemon are strong. And what I mean by strong, I mean they're over level
100. I know that. Yeah.
Yes. And I've never thought Pokemon would even consider doing over level 100 plus, because normally you'd have to get like third party mods or people's own spin off of the game to get something like that. So I'm interested to see, them implement that in further games, maybe, but overall, I think it's a pretty good game. If you really like Pokemon, I would say get it. Or if you are a competitive person in the competitive scene, definitely get it. But if you're a casual person, you really don't need it unless you just want to try out the new mechanics, because new mechanics are pretty fun. I will say that, dodging out of Pokemon's ways.
Right. Yeah. They definitely added a lot of Pal World to ZA, because you'd have to do that in Pal World, right? The Pokemon can actually
Yep.
attack you, and if you go down, then you're down.
Yep. Yeah. So the one of the most annoying things is the alpha Pokemon because it will chase you. Get close enough, and they'll shoot hyper beams, long distance attacks, or just straight up run at you. So nice fresh breath of air for Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, the game looks like an upgrade from previous games, but I don't think for me it doesn't have the same level of quality and polish as most modern AAA titles to me.
Easy. Hmm.
Which is another reason why I'm like, I don't know if this is actually like worth my money at this point, right? Like I used to be an
Yeah.
avid, I mean, I'm an avid Pokemon enjoyer, but it's like one of those things where it's like, money's tight right now and I can't necessarily afford, like, I have to really pick and choose the games I buy. And Pokemon just didn't tick any of the boxes anymore. It used to, but the nostalgia bait's gone for me.
No, for sure. Like if you're definitely nostalgic of Pokemon, then you may not necessarily need it, but it's a fun game if you want to do competitive for sure.
Now, when we talk about nostalgia bait, let's talk about our next subject, which is Fallout 4 Remastered. Now, I have spent a lot of time in Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is one of my favorite games. I love the ability to craft bases in that game and settlements. I love the story. I think the different factions between the Institute, the Brotherhood, the Railroad, and the Minutemen were super fun. Even though all the Radiant Minutemen quests were really annoying, it's a game that I can go back to and replay and uh, feel like I can do something a little different than every other time. And I've spent like maybe 300 some hours in this game. Spent a lot
Damn.
of time. I mean, it's a over 10-year-old game, right? So, I
Right.
mean, over the course of time, I've got like it's like one of those. You know how you have a comfort food where you kind of go back to. It's one of my
Yeah.
comfort games where I kind of go back to that and Skyrim.
Oh
Back
yeah,
in
Skyrim.
the highlight and heyday of Bethesda
Mhm.
Studios.
Oh yeah.
Um, and Bethesda's known for a couple things, and one of their things is releasing broken games. And what's egregious about this is they remastered Fallout 4, and if you purchase the upgrade, it breaks your game, dude. It's like it can corrupt your saves. It can make your game unplayable. It can make it so it's not even able to load. It makes it so you can't even, from what I understand, get in your task manager and force quit the game.
What?
So it released in such a poor state, and you don't really get anything out of it if you already have the original. Like I have the original and all the DLCs, and you're getting a bunch of Creation Club stuff, which is basically like if you were to mod something and then put that onto the marketplace, that's how it would be. It would be through the Creation
Mhm.
Club, and that's how you as a creator could monetize your work essentially.
Okay.
And man, how disappointing is it to have a great remaster in Oblivion come out and then a
Right.
big flounder and fail in Fallout 4?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a slap in the face to fans, man. Now, I know you're not a
Mhm.
big, Fallout player, but as somebody who plays video games, what would you think if they came out with a quote unquote remaster that's supposed to give it all the great bells and whistles of modern day gaming, but it comes out broken? Like, imagine if the Switch 2 version of Scarlet and Violet, instead of significantly increasing the playability of the game, broke it.
Yeah, I would be livid, pissed off, every word under the umbrella for that. Like, not only did I originally pay a lot of money for this game, I'm buying a remake that's $40 or $20 if I already had it, and it, you know, breaks my game, makes me restart all the progress and sweat and tears that I made into this file, and it's just gone, and I have to restart it. And the fact that I can't even force close it, that would drive me up a wall and never want to play the game again.
Right.
Just it's just so see the one thing I hate, and maybe a lot of gamers can relate to this or not, but wasting time, I'm just not a big fan of, right? If I'm
Yeah.
wasting my time on something that's pointless, I'm just not going to do it, right? So I don't know how most people do that with Fallout. I mean, nostalgia definitely helps, but there's got to be a certain breaking point.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's the thing is that it's a game that was already out. It was a game that was working. Not only does the update ruin your games and your saves, but it ruins the mods that you might have already got
Oh
and
yeah.
are happy with because they made a new version of it, which means that, and it's a 10-year-old game. So if you're a modder and you made a mod 10 years ago and you try and this comes out, you might have to remake your mod. You might have to
Crazy.
you have to update it. And I mean, if you did it for fun, that mod might not be up. Bethesda could have broke it forever, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and like I know modders will come out with a downgrade. They'll be like, "Oh, get your version back," and like it just sucks that the community would have to do that.
Hmm.
Um, and that like brings into a discussion. Uh, should we be remaking these old games or are they fine as it is? And if you do remake a game, what is appropriate? Because like Red Dead Redemption just announced that they're doing a remaster. They're upgrading it, but they're offering it for free. Right? So like
Yeah.
what's the happy balance? What's the balance for a game like this? I don't mind paying for enhancements as long as it's reasonable. If you're talking about a texture upgrade to go from 1080p graphics to 4K to upgrade it to modern day graphics, I'll pay a little bit, maybe 10 or $20, but
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that and have it be broken. Like
Yeah.
like even that's the thing, man. Like you have to do things well, and if you can't re-release the game well, you shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Oh yeah, like the new Oblivion remaster, that was like a perfect example of a remake, right? You
Yeah,
keep the core mechanics and you just update it, give it new fresh paint. You may give new, you know,
keep the
daily life
glitches that made the
features.
game funny.
Yeah, or just even add like better fast travel or more fast travel spots instead of running everywhere on the map, you know?
Right.
Things like that is definitely worth to me 10 to $20. I would happily give that team be like, cool, I love these glitches. I'll just recreate them in better quality and show that up on YouTube, things like that were, just make it better, not worse, is what I'm trying to say, or improve it.
Yeah, yeah, and it depends on what is the fidelity upgrade. Like, is it
Hmm.
worth a price point? Because I'll tell you what, when they said that they're re-releasing the Switch One games on Switch Two, and you had to pay a nominal fee to upgrade it, I wasn't about it. I
Nah.
wasn't about it. Yeah, I'm a little bit more about it when it comes to Fallout because I love it so much. But when I think about like other games, would I pay $10 or $20 for an upgrade? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, did it come out like is it going to stand the test of time? That's the real question. Am I okay with poor graphics if the game itself quality is still where is at or supposed to be at?
Definitely. Yeah, hopefully it'll stand the test of time, but it's already been 10 years, so he's got plenty of time to see.
Let's talk a little bit about our favorite games. I know Marvel Rivals and Overwatch is the two games I play the most are Overwatch 2, three the games I play most, Overwatch 2, Marvel Rivals, and Hearthstone. Recently, it's been Dispatch and Clair Obscura. Um, I know I'm late to the train on Clair Obscura, but better late than never is what I always say. But when it comes to our gaming, Overwatch 2 and Marvel Rivals recently over Halloween had some events. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about those events. Why don't we start out with the Rivals event, since that's something we both played with their Marvel Zombies crossover. Uh, I had a chance to play it up to Nightmare 1. What have you got a chance to play, Chris?
I did Nightmare 1, I'm close to Nightmare 2, but yeah, it was really fun. I did like the whole zombie aspect. I like how they're fast zombies and then just giant hordes of zombies, and then you get the giant zombies, and then the different characters you can play are all cool. You got Blade, you got Thor, you got Jeff, you got Magic,
I
and the
thought it was a good
Punisher.
choice of the characters for sure.
Oh yeah. I also did like Jeff going under the water, or sorry, not underwater, underground, and just hitting people or zombies.
The
That
hide
was
and seek
cool.
build.
Oh yeah, hide and seek
Yeah,
build.
that's the
And
easiest
then,
one to me.
The bosses were cool. Wanda, Namor. I wish they could have added a little bit more different boss varieties, like add like I don't know, maybe characters in game like a zombie thing you have to fight, things like that. But always a potential option for next year.
Yeah, I mean they for Halloween. There's a couple of cool things they could definitely do. Um, I hope next year they release a Halloween specific map.
Ooh,
I think
yeah.
that would be cool. I think with them releasing Times Square, they have an opportunity for probably one of the darkest Spider-Man stories to go into effect, where like it was based off of a comic book run where they're trying to take over the Darkhold, and what they're trying to do is the Darkhold is showing everybody the worst iterations of themselves, and the worst
Oh,
iteration of Peter Parker is he's in a city basically going insane, and everybody's kind of zombified and stuck in this like mindless loop.
oh
And
God.
Spider-Man, of course, like let Gwen Stacy die and is constantly trying to go to this dinner with Gwen, but Gwen's dead. And
Oh,
like it basically in this like zombie ketosis, and he's trying to like he Spider-Man webs people back together, their limbs back together. So there's a bunch of like zombies because they're still kind of like they're not mind eating brain zombies. They're just dead in the mind and kind of repeating
oh,
certain things. They're like they're shells of themselves. So like Doc Ock has his like one of his arms missing, but he has his like octopus arms, but they're like stitched together through Spider-Man webs. And the only
oh
other
God.
person who's still kind of like alive with Peter is Mr. Fantastic. And at the end of the
Oh,
story, he ends up like almost killing Mr. Fantastic, but integrating him into his web fluid to make his web
what?
fluid last forever. So he's like stretching Mr. Fantastic out through his spider webs, and he's
Oh my
still
God.
alive in pain. And he's like, "You have to make this sacrifice for the city, Reed." And it is one of the darkest stories. Comics
Jesus.
Explained did a uh Halloween episode on it. I suggest you watch it. But they could do a story based off of that, right? Where Spider-Man's the bad guy. And
Damn.
there's a lot of cool things they could do. There's a lot of messed up Marvel stories out there that they could pull from.
Oh
Which would be
yeah.
cool.
Tell me about it.
Uh So yeah, Marvel Rival. Overall, I think the event's super fun. I think it's cool that they had separate kind of like skill trees for those warriors and what they can
Yep.
do. And yeah, the hide and seek build with Jeff is one of the easiest. If you want to clear things, it's one of the easiest ones to do. It's almost like just stay underground the entire time.
Like every Jeff player ever.
Right. I also like the Punisher build. I've seen people really rock the Magic and Blade builds, but I just don't think I'm like those characters just don't resonate with me. So I feel like I had a hard time. And
Yeah.
like the Thor build was really, really cool too.
Oh yeah, I did Thor. That was fun.
Now, I know I've only got you to play Overwatch a couple times. I know it's kind of overwhelming to try and learn a whole new hero shooter, especially when you have like Marvel Rivals coming out with new characters like Gambit and Rogue, which we'll touch on in a minute. But Overwatch, and like what's I like too is Marvel decided to keep the event running a little longer. I think it was supposed to have expired, but then they just added it as a new mode, which is
Cool.
cool. But Overwatch, so they just it almost seems like they are teasing hero team ups because Overwatch's Halloween was about masks. And what was really cool about it is
Oh.
you, as let's say Reinhardt, could take on and wear a mask of like Juno, and then you could hover. You're
Oh.
given one of Juno's like abilities, and then different masks gave you different abilities. Some would reduce damage, some would increase damage, some would increase attack speed, stuff like that. But it was a really cool way of kind of giving heroes the ability to team up with other heroes, which I thought was really cool. And that was a really fun event. And it seems like they're using their events to kind of soft launch certain things that they might want to try in the future. So how Marvel Rivals has their team up abilities, I think Overwatch is like, we could probably do that because there are, I mean, it would make sense and it would builds on the lore of the characters. And what they're doing now is a spirits mode, which I think is really cool because I'm a big fan of mystery heroes. I'm not like, overly good at any one character, but I don't think I'm like overly bad, except for with maybe Ball. I'm really bad with Hammond and Ball. But they're doing spirits, which is kind of a remix of mystery heroes, where if you kill too much with a hero, it'll swap you off that hero. So if you get 5 kills, it swaps you off, which is a good way to make sure somebody doesn't get their main and then wreck the entire lobby. And then if you are somebody you're not good with, after 2 deaths, it kills you. It swaps your hero out as well. So it's an interesting way. And it's something that swaps you out instantly. The moment you get that kill, you're changed. You're a different character.
Damn,
So you
that's
could be
crazy.
in the middle of your ultimate, get your kill, and it swaps you.
Dude, wild.
Yeah. So I thought that was a cool remix of mystery heroes. And I thought it was an interesting event that kind of tied into Halloween, but not quite Halloween. And what I loved about Overwatch is you have access to some of their previous events. So you could still play Bride of Junkenstein, Junkenstein's Laboratory. You can still play as some of those other events, which is really cool in case you missed them in the past. Which they have their own like story, and then you face bosses, and they have their remixes of certain characters, and then they have certain boss abilities, which make it's what, for anybody who like me is an OG Overwatch fan, what you might have wanted from a PvE version of Overwatch. But I love how they're adding these PvE modes to the games.
Yeah, I'm glad that Marvel Rivals kind of gave them that step forward of like, okay, we got to step up our game.
And I sent you a trailer. Overwatch is releasing a new character. Looks like either a DPS or tank, and it looks like another melee character by the name of Vendetta. And I thought I love how they're getting back to these awesome cinematics and trailers for releasing new characters, because I feel like some of them were lackluster. Like when Venture launched, it was, you didn't really know much. Like, how does she fit into the Overwatch world, or Venture fit into the Overwatch world? Sorry, I don't know if I misgendered them or not, but how does Venture fit into the Overwatch world? How are they? What's their relation to Overwatch? What's their relation to Talon? You didn't really get that, but in this, you kind of get that sense that this is somebody who had some sort of past with her father, and is vowing, made almost like a oath of vengeance, or an oath to show what that family connection meant and stuff like that. What do you think about the Overwatch 2 trailer?
It's pretty cool. I did like how you said they bring more lore. Like she's saying, like, "Hey, my father prepared me for everything and anything to happen." You show like her past being fighting wolves and being tested on chests, and then you see her father being thrown out and killed by some people, and she's like, I'm ready to take vengeance, and everyone who's calling me a wolf, I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to embrace it and show them why they should be afraid. And I was like, damn, that's kind of cool. And she looks really cool as a character. She
Yeah,
has
she
like
looks
that giant
badass.
like arm. It kind of reminds me of that one guy. He has like that giant fist and then just hits people with that giant metal fist. Kind of gives me that kind of vibe.
Doomfist.
Yeah. Doomfist. All around, it was really good trailer. Did give some good background to this character to make you more appealing to them.
And I'm pretty sure she's like gonna be a good guy. It looks like she's gonna maybe have the ability to block with her sword. You saw that, where she would hold up her sword and charge forward.
Yeah.
She had like
Yep.
boosts, rocket boosters on her back. And I'm
hmm
assuming she's gonna swing big sword and make big damage.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Big sword, big damage. Always a plus.
And then in terms of new characters, we also have Marvel Rivals. We got Gambit and Rogue, with Gambit being released. Now, we discussed this a little bit. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I'm super excited about these two characters. I'm super interested to see what Rogue's power set's going to be, what her kit's going to be like.
Mm.
I love the way Gambit feels. I don't think his ability to heal people really aligns with his lore powers. And I mentioned that when we first talked about it, that's one of the things I'm like a little disappointed in. But playing it, I understand how the kit works. It makes sense in certain ways with the cards and stuff like that. I think his ability for kinetic energy, this is just me being a nitpicky X-Men fan. I feel like
Sure.
his ability to manipulate kinetic energy isn't that of healing. It is that of damage. And I would have more so loved him to be a buff, debuff type of character that's more of a duelist. But most people play him like a duelist anyway. I mean, we got Ultron, who's mainly dealing damage, who kind of has his passive heal. Gambit's a little bit more proactive in their healing and their choice of using the spades or the hearts and stuff like that. But have you had a chance to play Gambit yet, Chris? What do you think of the character?
I haven't had a chance to play him just because I've been playing Pokemon to kind of, get all that stuff down. But as far as the character goes, he looks really cool in game. He kind of looks like, taken right out of the comic books, and he sounds very much like somebody from North Orleans or New
New
Orleans.
Orleans,
I'm saying that
Nolans.
right. New
Well, I'm
Orleans.
pretty sure Rogue and Gambit have the same voice actors from X-Men 97, right?
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I was like, his
Yeah.
voice sounds
No,
very familiar. I just
I'm
couldn't
pretty
point it.
sure that they're the same voice actors, which is awesome. I think that's really cool of
Oh
them to
yeah,
do. I think they
yeah, and
recognize how like good they were and how good those voice actors are.
yeah, I was gonna say voice acting down really good, and overall saw his gameplay, from his release trailer, and it looks really fun, really cool, and I'm just hoping that people don't get overly attached to him and think they're good, even though they're not. The downside of every new character.
But you're mainly a tank player, right? That's mainly what
Oh
you play.
yeah, mainly what I play, and that's what I'm hoping. Transition. That's what I'm hoping Rogue is. I'm hoping Rogue is a cool tank.
Well, you're probably super psyched about the Penny and Thing updates. I think with the Thing, he
Yeah.
like restores health when he does his main like punch ability. Is that right? Like he gets over
That's
health or
right.
something. And then with
Yep.
Penny, like shit, I know you're like Penny's one of your mains. So the ability to heal and speed boost with your webs, dude. We need to hop on some
Dude,
matches and see what that team up's like.
it's gonna be sick, dude. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, man. Um, Yeah, dude, I think Gambit's kit is super fun, regardless of if you think he should be a support or not. The kit's fun, the character's fun. It fits his whole aura and personality and archetype. So I think they nailed it. What I'm really excited about is in the trailer they showed Cyclops,
Ooh, yeah, Cyclops
right?
hopefully
They had him,
comes.
so they have a freaking character design for Cyclops. So I'm hoping like what I hated over the last couple years, like in Marvel versus Capcom, they weren't allowed to use any X-Men characters. So it didn't really feel like Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah,
It felt like some of Marvel versus
Marvel.
Capcom. So it's awesome that Rivals is able to use like that whole gambit. I'm hoping in future iterations we get more villains. I'm
Oh yeah,
hoping
villains, please.
I kind of hope we can get a cool anti-Wolverine in Sabretooth. It'll be fun to get a character that's specifically set to neutralize Wolverine or be a an annoyance to Wolverine. In Sabretooth, I think it'd be cool if we got a Lady Deathstrike.
You
They could
know,
do a whole adamantium rogue and then do like an adamantium world with
you
kind of what they're
know,
doing in the comics.
they already got a Penny Parker, but what if they made a Sentinel that size and just goes around and just like debuffs mutants or something crazy cool?
Nimrod, they could make Nimrod.
Yeah, that would be
Nimrod
really
could be a
cool.
dope either duelist or tank.
Oh yeah, I would love that. That would be sick.
Yeah, yeah, Nimrod would be dope. Um, and then in the last bit of our gaming news, we're going to talk about the return of some story-focused games. Because I know
Hmm.
you've been watching a lot, haven't played, but let's talk about Claire Obscura first, Expedition 33, and we'll talk about Dispatch. But man, what a great year to be a gamer who loves story, because Claire Obscura has one of the best stories in a game I think I've ever played. It instantly catapulted its way into the top 5 of all stories for me.
It's
And
crazy.
it 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 really hit emotionally. I know there's a streamer named Shroud who wants Arc Raiders to have won Game of the Year. It wasn't even nominated, by the way, because they're like multiplayer games. But the thing is that not many multiplayer games, unless it's a couch co-op type multiplayer game, hits you in the feels. Not like
Hmm,
Dispatch or Claire Obscura would. And
hmm.
Claire Obscura had an amazing remix of turn-based gameplay on top of amazing sound, on top of amazing art, on top of amazing narrative. And to me, it should probably win Game of the Year. But I haven't played all the games, so I can't comment on many of the games. Um, but you've been watching. I mean, this is also a tell of an amazing game is when people watch the story, right? So you've been watching
Right.
a lot of Dispatch. I've personally put like 80 hours into Dispatch already. But what do you think of the ad hoc and like Telltale type games where the gameplay is mainly decision making in both the mini game and the main game, as opposed to action shoot 'em up, beat 'em up?
I really like storytelling games. For example, Baldur's Gate 3 has a really good story, and each character
Mhm.
has their own story. And I really love that. And they're all different too, which is even better. But even watching like episode 1 and 2 of Dispatch, you just get like a whole new feel for each character, especially our main character, Mecha Man, his family suit that's been fighting for 3 different generations,
He's the
and
3rd
how he comes to
generation.
terms with that of like, hey, I can't be Mecha Man anymore because I ran out of inheritance. I can't fix him up, and the power source that I use is no longer available to
Spoilers
me
for
because I'm not
anybody
like my
who's
fault.
planning on playing
Oh,
Dispatch. It
yep.
is
Sorry, I did not
this is
mean.
all covered in the first episode, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. I should have said that. But him getting recruited by one of the best heroes in the county, Blonde Blazer, and how he just kind of is now a hero dispatcher rather than a hero, and how he has to get these ex-villains to be heroes, and that whole journey between him and the team has been really fun to watch.
Yeah, man, I have played through the entire game a couple times. I'm 2 achievements away from getting all the achievements. I need to hack everything. That's my next goal. I'm taking a little break from it because I've been so obsessed with it since it's come out. Being a fan of Critical Role, being a fan of uh, that voice acting crew. Um, I the thing about, like, if I were to make a game, I would love to make a game in the same vein where your choices and decisions really affect everything moving forward, right? And some people, might say it's like, do your decisions really matter? I was like, well, yeah, man. Some of them, even something as little as uh, a character like kissing your hand to comfort you, like those little things, it does every decision have to be changing the world? No.
Mm,
And I think that's the great thing about Dispatch is that even some of the small decisions you can tell through the different playthroughs. Um, and there was a
right.
moment where I'm like, wait, even though after all the Dispatch playthroughs I've watched and like heard, I got some dialogue options that I never got before. Even on like a 4th or 5th playthrough, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna try something different. But like, what I love about that is it's like how when you're playing the game, you are taking control of Mecha Man, and it's like, how does your Mecha Man respond? How does your Mecha Man
Right.
guide the story? You know what I mean?
Mm,
And that's what I love about it. And what I love about this is So Ad Hoc Studios is a lot of Telltale Studios. And Telltale Studios made the Walking Dead series, the Telltale games. They made the Batman Enemy Within.
Mhm.
They made The
Guardians of the
Wolf Among
Galaxy.
Us. Yeah, they made the Expanse games. Like they made a lot of story-driven games. And this is definitely a spiritual successor. You can tell what their roots were in.
Mhm.
And man, they just nailed it. And they went through a tough development cycle to even get this game made, where it almost didn't get made. And it wasn't until Critical Role came in and helped them finish the game that it's even finished and released.
It's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, man, it is a game that when I first did my ending, I got, and again, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know anything about this game and you haven't played it yet, skip this part. Skip, go back. You're already too far in. We already spoiled too much. But I got the redemption, and when it's going through the stats and it's like your
Mhm.
Invisigal embraced heroism and turned away from villainy. I was like, oh shit, she could be a villain. I'm like, oh no, wait, what? And
Oh,
there's a lot
that's
of different
cool.
permutations because there's two love interests you can go with. You can go with Blonde Blazer or Invisigal. You can then have Invisigal be redeemed or felt like she'll always be a villain and like realize she might not be a hero because no one believes she can be a hero. So like the
Mhm.
game's a lot about redemption. It's about belief. It's about, do people deserve second chances? Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of cool themes throughout it that I love.
And I didn't tell you this, but I did watch a scene from, I don't know which episode it is, but I watched the character Trackstar and him use his powers. Man, that hit me hard in the stomach, man. That was
Oh
tough.
yeah, dude, that was at the end of episode 6.
Yeah, I won't spoil it for anyone who's gonna be playing it, but just be warned. Just be warned.
And then episode 7, you get to see him use his powers again, but young.
Perfect.
Yeah, man, it did a good job getting the emotional beats. I talk a lot about how I relate a lot of characters in games to DMing and tabletop, because that's like another hobby of mine. But it makes me think about how I can put more emotional impact into games. You know, like you want to have an NPC like Chase who feels
Hmm.
alive, feels connected, gives emotional impact and weight. And, you don't always have to kill your players to get that emotional weight. If you get your players attached to a certain place, thing, or person, then you can use that for the emotional impact that you might need to really give your games that weight. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to take out of this is they did a good job too in having this villain Shroud that you see kind of in the beginning and then just at the end. But he's been connected the entire time throughout the entire game.
Crazy.
And then the last thing we're going to talk about with gaming before we jump into our anime and TV discussion. We're not going to talk on this too much, but we're just going to talk a little bit about the new Steam hardware, the Steam Machine, GameCube 2.0, if you will, the Steam controller, and Steam VR. I'm personally pretty excited. I think that's pretty cool. If you're possibly thinking about maybe streaming, if you're going to do a 2 machine setup, you could play your games on a Steam machine, um, and then use your PC to stream. So that way they're separated. So if one goes down, you
Mhm.
have the other. But man, I think Valve is killing it with the hardware. From what I understand, they're trying to make everything super affordable. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
you're new to the PC gaming space. You mainly game via console, and this is essentially like a PC console. What do you think
Yeah.
about all this new hardware that seems coming out with?
I think it's amazing. I think it's a way to get people into PCs without having to break the bank, right? Be like, hey, you can still play all the games that Steam has, but pay a reasonable and respectable price that won't, break the bank. And the fact that you can use other controllers other than their own, like your PlayStation, your Xbox controller, and have it work seamlessly from what it sounds like, it's nothing but a win. And just everything about it is just good. You can increase the memory with micro SD cards or just other SD
Buy the
cards to put into
upgrade.
it to give you more
Yeah.
storage. Exactly, and it's affordable and cheap. And
Well, we don't know the
I've
full
just
price on it
well,
yet.
oh
It's
sorry,
supposed to
I
be.
should more affordable is I think I should use a better
Yeah.
word for it.
It's supposed to
Um,
be affordable. We'll see what the price is. I mean, it's supposed to be more powerful than the Steam Deck. So the Steam Deck top tier is 649.
yeah,
And I'm wondering if they're gonna I assume they're gonna try and keep the price point below that, which is
yeah,
compared to current consoles, a steal.
oh yeah, especially with the new Switch 2 and the new Xbox rumor their console's going to be. So, any price that they do that's below $600, I think is going to be a win.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and it looks like it has enough ports and peripheral stuff to get by. It's supposed to be a little bit bigger than a GameCube, I believe.
Yeah,
So I believe for a discrete living room machine, it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna pair well with the Steam controller. I love the design of it. I like the idea of
yeah.
having the two trackpads because it makes
Oh, so good.
like some PC gaming feel a little better. I could see certain first person shooters being really interesting on those. It'd also be nice to maybe have mouse control using that, like a trackpad, especially for real time strategies. That might make a lot of sense. I know what's been pissing me off is I have my PC in my office and room, and then I have my Steam Deck connected in my living room, and I play with an old Xbox 360 controller plugged in via USB on my Deck dock, right?
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, I've missed a couple of uh, missions in Dispatch because the controller layout isn't like the best, and it won't like select what I need it to select when I'm pushing up and down. Like if you quit up, there's a little glitches when using a controller that makes me like, all right, well, I hope this is going to work better.
Right.
And then the VR mask looks really cool. I don't have any VR
Mm.
games. I don't have the room for VR games. VR is cool, but it's like one of those things where I just don't have the capacity for it.
Oh yeah, same here. Cool games, but very limited room.
So let's go ahead and move on to our TV, anime, and movie talk. Let's first talk briefly on what we think of the live action Zelda photos.
I think they look good. Both look really young and really capture the look of Zelda and Link very well. I'm just interested to hear what they go for accents and voice.
Yes, I want to know what they sound like. Here's the thing with Nintendo games, man. They don't have voice acting, dude. You know what I mean? Like it is
Yep.
2025 and you're telling me we have a Pokemon game with no voice acting? We got like all these games coming out with no voice acting? Like get out of here, dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
and like yeah, I want to know it looks phenomenal. The costume looks great. It looks like it was ripped out of the game, brought to life. But what is the script going to be like? How are you going to, what's the dialogue between Zelda and Link going to be like? What does Link
Yep.
sound like? How's he going to talk? He was always a silent protagonist. And that's the problem with the silent protagonist is like, you know, I know my
Yeah.
head voice for Link is probably different than your head voice from Link because there's no established
Mhm.
canon of what Link might or should sound like. So
Yeah.
I'm hyped because I want it to be good. I just
Mm.
hope it's going to be good.
Yep. Same here. Same here.
Now we have 3 trailers that we had a chance to see. There's a Super Mario Galaxy, Toy Story 5, and Now You See Me, Now You Don't 3. Let's start out with Super Mario Galaxy. What did you think of the Super Mario Galaxy trailer?
I think it looks like it's going to be fun. Very similar to the regular Mario movie. This one's going to take in with Rosalina, and spoilers if you haven't seen the trailer, but you see Bowser Jr. join into the mix, and you see his painting ability, like from Super Mario Sunshine, and his new supervillain form from Mario Brother Wonders, and hopefully we get to see more crazy shenanigans with Baby Bowser and trying to take his father back and just trying to take the star power from Rosalina. So
Man,
all around
I
good.
hope we get all the Koopa kids, dude. Let's start off this movie with Koopa kids being like, Mario and Luigi, you took away our father. Like
Yeah,
I'll tell you
like
what, I liked the first movie. I thought it was fun. I think that Luigi's voice actor's putting in work. I think that Chris Pratt is phoning it in.
mm,
Like he doesn't sound like Mario to me. He still doesn't really sound like Mario to me. And
no,
that's the problem with Chris Pratt. He just sounds like freaking Chris Pratt.
yeah,
It
like
sounds like Star-Lord's doing Mario.
yeah, like if I wanted to see, Chris Pratt, I'd go watch, Guardians of the Galaxy. But like, you got to have like a different like, not you don't have to be Italian. You should have to sound like you have that Mario feel, like Chris Martinet. I think that's the video game Mario. Something like that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, you shouldn't sound like Andy from Parks and Rec still. I think
No,
if you're trying to be Mario. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
yeah, yeah. But overall, I'm excited. I hope it's going to be good. I'll probably see it with my niece and nephew if I get the chance and they're in town. I would like to take them to see the movie. And same with the next movies, Toy Story 5. Super brief, super short, but I
Yeah.
think hits the nail on the head with modern like this it makes sense
Oh,
for a modern day Toy
yeah.
Story, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
spoiler alert
Yeah.
for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I think the new toy is an iPad.
Oh, easy. Just call the lily pad instead of an iPad. Like I was already kind of like with Toy Story 4. Toy Story 3 was probably one of my favorites, but hopefully this one will be entertaining with new technology toys and them trying to come to terms with that.
Yeah, yeah, where Buzz Lightyear was the latest toy and he had his voice lines and his shooting rockets, and now you have a freaking video pad who's gonna have like, oh well, I have a Buzz Lightyear MOBA game. You're like, what the hell?
It's like what?
But
Uh,
yeah, man. I mean, Toy Story will always have a special place in my heart because it was such a great franchise growing up. And like this one makes sense, but come up with a new IP, man. Let's get something
mm,
new.
tell me about it.
And what did you think about Now You See Me, Now You Don't 3?
I was gonna say it just expands more on the lore of the world in this movie franchise. I've always been a fan of like magics and illusions just because it's like fun and entertaining, but seeing them go with this preposterous type of like, oh my god, we're truly upside down in a normal standing house. You're like, how the hell did that happen? And they're trying to steal like this diamond from the trailer and all that. So it looks really entertaining. Hopefully, it is still good as like the first one and the second one. And, they got the original characters and some new characters coming in. So hopefully they can shake up that formula.
I think this is a conspiracy by the Magic Association to try and continue to make magic look cool and be cool.
Well, when
You're
Neil
trying to
Patrick
tell me
Harris,
magicians are actually cool? Get out of here.
you don't remember Chris Angel or Neil Patrick Harris?
Yes, the fact that you're putting Chris Angel and Neil Patrick Harris in the same sentence is what's cool. It's like, yes, we got Doogie Howser, MD, coming back as a magician. Okay. And
Uh,
NPH is really talented. I'm not trying to take away from him, but,
yeah.
let's be real. Magic, sorry to my friend Danny, who I doubt's going to be watching this podcast, but I know he knows some card tricks, and your card tricks are cool, Danny. But we know that magic itself isn't that cool, and I'm somebody who loves magic.
No, that's funny.
Let's talk about the Mighty Nein episode that just came out. I saw it on its release on YouTube. I think you waited for it to come out on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw it on Amazon.
What'd you
Yeah,
think,
it
Chris?
was it was really cool. I did like the session, like zero of all the characters kind of getting their own little thing of like we get to know more about Nott and Caleb, and then we get to learn more about Bo and how they, start off their journey to eventually meet at this intersection of all the other characters. Yeah, like I remember watching episode one of campaign two after I finished campaign one. as they were getting ready for campaign 3, and this kind of reminds me of all that, but just a lot more polished, a lot more ready to go, and it's already getting you a little bit more invested in these characters than they did in Vox Machina,
Yeah.
which was really, really nice.
Well, what I love about this is we're kind of getting to see session 0.
Yep.
Because when we got introduced to the tabletop game, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen any of the campaign or the show yet, but you got to see the first set of characters, which is, I believe, Caleb, Knot, and Beauregard, as a cohesive unit. And then we got to see, I believe, Jester, Ford, and was it Yasha? And Molly Mock? Were they the 4 that knew? Oh no, Molly Mock and Yasha knew each other.
Yes,
Ford
and
and
then
so I'm
Jester.
assuming the next episode is either going to be split between Ford and Jester, and then Yasha and Molly Mock, or it'll be the next episode Ford, Jester, next episode Molly Mock, Yasha, and then they all meet. Something
Yeah,
along
because
those
I feel
lines.
like I wonder how they're going to do it, because I know Ashley, the voice actress of Yasha and Critical Role, had to, another job during that time, so she had to miss quite a few. So I wonder how they're going to introduce her character with the rest in a reasonable time frame.
Well, they can fuck around with like timelines and what kind of like The Witcher, how you got to see 3 different points of time all at once and stuff. They could easily do something like that, right? Because like this is that they had to omit Ashley from the story in certain points because she had different commitments. But in this, Yasha, they don't have to do that. They can rearrange things so that way it's all a little bit more cohesive, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah. So hoping that the, rest of the episodes and the rest of the season are just as good as the first one and just continue getting better.
I wonder if Sam during this process was like, I never should have gave her that character voice when we first started. Now I have to do this for an entire series.
Yeah, he does.
I'm going to talk like a little goblin.
And look at him now, talking like a little goblin. And German.
Caleb, do
There's
you
German
know
in the show too.
magic?
Yeah, the Mighty Nein.
Right. One of the best questions I heard them ask the Critical Role cast was if in the English version, Zemnians are talking in German, in the German dub are the Zemnians talking English in English?
Dude, that's amazing.
Because that would be funny. Because I know in my head canon, I have like Elvish to me is always French.
French.
Yeah,
That's
because
so cool.
I always feel like elves are just kind of snooty, think they're above everybody. And in my mind, that's kind of like a French characteristic. It's to be like, oh, you think you're the best, but I am the best, and it's like, not, I'm putting racial stereotypes out there. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or anything like that, but like when I think of somebody's like, French cuisine is the best, it's better than all your cuisine, I would think that's like, Elvish cuisine is the best, better than all the other rest. Like that's what in my head canon I kind of have it as.
That's very funny.
Yeah. So that should be that would be a good game show questions, like, in your mind, what would Elvish sound like what language most resembles Elvish to you or something. But yeah, I think I thought it was a good episode. I think it's good enough to get people invested into this other part of the world in Taldore. And I'm excited to see how the rest of this series goes. And I feel like they're lining it up. So at the end of Vox Machina, and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the campaign, but I think when Vox Machina ends is when you're going to get the first introduction of old Vox Machina in the Mighty Nein, because the Mighty Nein set in the future, right? So I'm sure that they're trying to align the seasons so that when the last season of Vox Machina ends, you'll be able to see where their characters are at later pretty quick into the story.
Yeah, hopefully there's like one more season. Yeah.
All right, we got 2 topics to discuss left, Chris, and I want to make sure I give you enough time to convince me, as someone who's never seen the Chainsaw Man movie or don't really know too much about the franchise. Is the Chainsaw Man movie, is it a good jumping off point? Should I start with that movie? Or should I watch Chainsaw Man and jump into it? Like, is this one of the things I had a problem with Demon Slayer? Is if you don't know shit about Demon Slayer, I don't know if you'd enjoy the movie. Visually, it looks good. You might like it in terms of the visuals and the sound. But like, if I were to take my family who may have never seen Demon Slayer to the movie, they might not entirely enjoy it or get it. Is the Chainsaw movie good as a standalone movie? And is it good as a jumping off point? 2 separate questions. Is the Chainsaw Man movie good as a standalone movie, and is it a good movie? So they can be 2 different answers. So let's start off with that, Chris.
I believe it's a really good movie. Now, is it a good standalone movie? No. You would have to have previous Chainsaw Man knowledge to understand what's kind of going on. If you have a little bit, you could probably make your way through, but a lot of the characters and how they work, especially our main character Denji and the things that he does, you would need that background information of like why he does the things he does to better understand this movie.
Okay.
Because in the show you learn a lot about his past and why he acts like that, and you learn about Chainsaw Man, the devils, and all that. But once you're familiar with it, the movie is amazing. They took like a full season of Chainsaw Man and comprised it into a really stunning, really heart compelling movie. Like when the movie ended, I was like, damn, this is sad. And then when the ending of the end credits happened, that made me even more sad. It punched me right in the stomach of the feels. And I was like, they didn't show that in the manga, but that was definitely nice.
Okay, so there's
That they
something
did that.
for if you've read the manga, but all the way through, there's still something there for you.
Yeah, like
Okay, I love
the
that.
sound design and the ending was just so nice, and I just really like it. And I wish some animes would do this. The really popular ones, like, hey, you do really good job in the first couple seasons. You do a movie to get people reinvested into the series, and then you finish it off with a really good ending of a series.
Now, one of my issues with the Demon Slayer movie, and again, the Demon Slayer movie was great, don't get me wrong, but it felt like a continuation of the TV show, and it felt like I was watching several long episodes of a TV show instead of a full movie. Did the Chainsaw Man movie feel like a movie? I know visually it might have the budget of a movie, but did the pacing and the story feel like a movie?
It kind of felt like a movie. There were some parts of the movie where I felt like it didn't necessarily need to hold on to some frames and all that for very long. And I get why they chose to go that route. There's a scene with the main character Denji and the new character of this story as main character, and there were scenes in there that seemed a little bit long, but I think it was just to drive tension between the two, and then
Okay.
make it a little bit more like, oh, they need this tension. I'm like, I don't think they need it, but I get why they did it.
How many issues is the
Um,
manga up to?
there
100,
is over
200?
200 and something chapters.
Okay.
This one here is within the first, I want to say 60 or so chapters.
Okay.
And this arc was only like what, less than 10 chapters or so. So they had enough to work with to make a good movie and elongate some parts. But it does clear up a little bit at the end of the story. You're like, oh, this is why this character had this motive, and this is why they
Okay.
were so, you know, crazy.
Interesting.
So I would recommend anyone who wants to get into Chainsaw Man, watch the season 1 and then watch the movie, and things will work a lot better.
You've been hyping it up. I think for next week's comic and manga episode, I'm gonna have to try and catch up to the Chainsaw Man manga so we can add that to the monthly list. I know
Oh, yeah.
I want to do that in Dan to Dan. I've been holding off on watching the Dan to Dan anime because I'm the type of
Mhm.
person that likes to read the manga first, then watch the anime.
Mhm.
Just because I don't know. I grew up reading comic books. I love that medium. I wish
Oh, yeah.
manga and comic books were on the same level, but manga is like kind of surpassed comic books. Um, which is kind of crazy to me. Well, it's easier to do mangas because it's all in black and white, whereas comic books
Well,
are
not only
mostly all in
that,
color.
but the thing is too, there's so much lore and history with comic books that for new people, I can see it be overwhelming. Whereas
It's like jumping
manga,
in.
it's just
So,
like one story.
so to put that into context, like One Piece has been around since the 90s. And if you think about, oh man, imagine trying to get into One Piece now as a new reader. You have over 1,000 chapters, right?
Right.
Detective Comics and Action Comics and a lot of Marvel have been around since like the 1910s,
Yeah.
1920s. That's over
Yeah.
100 years of history. So I can understand that. You know, to a newer person into these worlds, it might be easier to jump into Naruto or Dragon Ball
Hmm.
because a lot of those stories are pretty much finished. So
Yep.
you have a beginning, middle, and end. Whereas like where do you like Spider-Man's still going on? Do you want to go
Yep.
back into the past and start with Stan
Hmm.
Lee and Mike Ditko? Or do you want to like go now and watch this run? Do you want to read it when Joe Quesada was the publisher in chief of editor in chief of Marvel and had his own vision? You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I get it. I get it. It's tough to like be a new into any of these forms of media. Now, speaking of these forms of media, our last topic, we're gonna go. We normally try and keep these podcasts within an hour, but I really want us to have a little bit of a discussion on manga versus anime, how one can kind of affect the other through the One Punch Man and My Hero Academia. Now, we have One Punch Man, whose manga is still going strong, has some of the best visuals and art in any manga, has an amazing story. I haven't had a chance to really dive into it because it was a parody of DBZ and Shonen, and I just wasn't in the mood or not in the mood for like a parody manga. But
Yeah.
the manga came out amazing, high tier, high quality, kept that up through its entire run, and then the anime came out, and it is a huge disappointment in terms of the quality of the animation. Whereas we
Yeah.
have and it's kind of losing steam, I feel like, for the fan base, and with the disappointment that a lot of people are kind of giving up on the series. And then we have kind of the inverse, where we have the My Hero Academia manga, which finished, which some people had a problem with the ending, saying it was kind of lackluster. Yet here we are with the last season of the anime adapting that final run, and it is some of the most peak My Hero Academia we're ever going to get. And some people didn't like the tonal shift because it was a lighthearted shonen that kind of, I mean, in the last couple episodes, freaking Deku had, spoiler alert, had his hands
Hmm.
chopped off. Like it got
Yep.
way darker towards the end, right?
Yep.
Um and I think that might have turned off some of the more fun-loving shonen, like, oh, I like lighthearted action, and this became super deep and
Hmm.
dark. There's a baby that,
Yep.
I mean, one for all went back into fetus mode or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's
Yep.
crazy. But these two properties to me are kind of like opposite sides of the coin, where you have this amazing manga that's getting ruined by the anime, and then you have a manga that was some people, some critics were harsh on it, but the anime is killing it. What's your take on these two properties, the manga, the anime? I know I'm more of a My Hero Academia fan. You're more of a One Punch Man fan. What's
Yeah.
your take on all this, Chris?
I would have to agree with a lot of that because, One Punch Man did an amazing job with season one. And then when it switched, staff or sorry, studios to JC staff, obviously the quality was not going to be great because Mappa Studios has been known to create out bangers. But One Punch Man season one was an anomaly. They had outsourcing, they had a lot of different help with, Mappa Studios. And when an anime is so bad, like visuals and all that, and the storytelling just not good, that turns off so many people from going to the source material and enjoying One Punch Man manga. because if you've ever seen the Garo fight or other future fights or even past fights like him and or not Genos, Boros from season 1 in the manga, peak drawing. If you ever need something to inspire you, that should be what inspires you. But even in the inverse, where the manga was kind of like, oh, kind of dark, it didn't feel like a good switch. But when you watch the anime of one, My Hero Academia, you're like, wow, this not only is the story ramped up and the stakes seem much higher than they have been, I think it gets a lot of people more invested than they think, right?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, when the Deku's arms get blown off or chopped off, you're like, I don't think he's gonna make it. Like, this is the first My Hero Academia perma death that might happen. And you're at the edge of your seat, like, oh my god, is this what it's like in the manga? I need
Is
to go check the
Bakugo
manga
really the
out.
main character this whole time? Was I
Dude,
just
you never
trolled for an
know.
entire season, like the entire series?
Yeah, because like Bakugo, like we all hate to admit it, Bakugo probably has one of the best, character developments in most manga
Oh,
that
for
are out
sure.
there.
For
And
sure.
it's just like amazing just to see that growth from the beginning of the series to now. Like it's just night and day. And it just shows on how much the anime does help the manga out, flush out those really emotional beats of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say the anime of One Punch Man has made me want to read the manga because there's no way it can be this bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I heard a creator call it One Frame Man, and I thought that was hilarious. I was like,
That was
oh
very
shit,
funny.
damn, One Frame Man, dude, coming at you.
Woo! Oh yeah, that
But
was sad.
I think the problem too with One Punch Man is there is so much good animation, not even from just the Western side or the Eastern or Oriental side, Asian side of animation. I mean, even the Western studios have good animation. Like Marvel's What If has some really good stuff in it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like that animation style. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
Oh
cool
yeah.
cell shaded animated stuff. I mean, Saturday morning cartoons were all animated, and they had some good animation in a lot of the newer modern renditions of stuff. So it's like the problem is the bar is so high for quality that when things really miss it, it's like super apparent. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, easy.
and it's one of those things that like people are more wise to animation. They're more wise to what good animation is. So when you see a guy gliding down a field in one frame just being moved like you're dragging it from a mouse down, I mean, people are going to call that out. And unless like, is there anything the One Punch Man studio can do from here to get them back into your graces, Chris?
They would have to make the last couple episodes, like the last 4 episodes, 3 episodes, so top tier in animation that it kind of makes me forget a little bit of how the beginning is. Because I mean, even in episode 2, they had one screenshot of 20 to 40 seconds of just text telling you about the story, but focused on one building. You know how much of a battle they would have to do to make me forget that, or Garo just sliding down the screen as a PNG? It would have to be like Goku Ultra Instinct fighting Jiren type of fight in animation to
Right.
make me forget about that. That's the only way that I could, forget or forgive this debauchery of animation and story.
Yeah, man. And we talked about voice acting in games and how Nintendo always misses the mark because they just don't have voice acting in their games. Like
Hmm.
the voice acting in My Hero, like really, you can read a manga, but if you hear somebody and they blow it out of the water better than your headcanon voice did, it just adds so much more to the performance on top of the animation, you know?
Yep. Yeah, because like how Saitama talks in the anime, that's how I hear him when I read the manga.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
It can make or break it. So
Mm-hmm. Easy.
see, now we just need a manga Telltale game. ad hoc game,
dude, don't get my hopes
right?
up, man.
So many ways they could do it. They could do a crazy manga inspired, game of choice. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Well, we've discussed all the topics that we had intended to discuss. We went a little over our normal podcast time, but if you stayed and listened, thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe. I don't think we've ever looked at a single comment on any of our videos yet, but we're going to start this week. And
Yep.
man, there's a lot of media out there. If you took the time to listen to us, thank you. Appreciate it.
Much appreciate it.
And we'll see you next week. We'll talk about our latest comic and manga reads. I will do my due diligence and try and read Dandadan and One Punch Man and Chainsaw Man. So I'll try and get those on the list. Thank you all. Have a good night.